All right, here we are. We're back.
How's everyone doing?
Good. Good morning.
Good morning. I like the fresh cut. You're looking spiffy there, Jason.
I cut it myself, actually. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
The things
Put
you
it on
gotta
the
do.
resume.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, how's your week?
Oh, it's been a long one. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of in-betweens, a lot of what have yous. But we're still plugging along and we're still here.
Yeah, I'm also recovering from being sick, which I understand. What Paul is sick today or under the weather.
That's why yours truly is here today.
Welcome.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it says Paul Reed on the Zoom link. I'm not sure if that shows up on Facebook Live or not.
It doesn't.
I'm
It doesn't.
Ryan Reed with
No,
Reed
I
and
got
Reed.
you. Yeah, I've got your nameplate on the
Okay.
actual feed, so we're good. We're covered. Yeah. Well, we could dive into what's in for today.
Yeah. So what happened? I know you had one of your friends was involved in a strange accident. What happened with that?
Yeah. So my wife she was out of town and at an event, and then on her way back, she got word that one of her friends who had left the event with her kids in the car was driving and I guess looking at the phone and somehow wrapped her car around a tree, which I don't know. It wasn't really raining or anything like that, but I don't know how it translates from driving, looking at your phone, and then hitting a tree. But she must have been really distracted. And,
It happens.
It just blows my mind how many people. I saw one. I was walking the kids down the street just yesterday, and this chick was like driving and had her face in her phone and just like
See it
right
all
past
the time.
us. Yeah.
Yep.
The whole time.
I remember one time we were down in South Florida on 95, which is like Mad Max Fury Road down there, which can be fun, but it also can be quite precarious.
Yeah.
And we were in the HOV lane on the far left, and it's like 5 or 6 lane highway, and the people in the passenger side. I mean, Jackie was driving, and I was watching 4 cars in a row face to the cell phone, 4 in a row.
Yeah.
People can't put it down.
It's sad. It's sad. Like TikTok and everybody. Some people are actually also trying to record while I've seen them on their videos and YouTube. Like, that just blows my mind, man. Is there something wrong?
And everyone wonders why there's so many personal injury law firms out there. Well, these accidents are voluminous in the state of Florida.
So do you guys see a lot of cases that come in from car accidents involving someone on their phone?
I mean, yes, to answer your question, yes. Oftentimes people don't admit that they were on their phone. Oftentimes they do. But sometimes the way these accidents happen, I don't know how many cases we have where a client is stopped at a stop sign or stopped at a red light for minutes, and they're plowed into, rear-ended at the person's doing the speed limit, 45, 55 miles per hour. It's like, buddy, I've been here 2 minutes. What could you possibly be doing other than staring at your cell phone to do this? So I mean, it's got to account for at least 50 to 70%. I'm just making this up. It's got to be more often than not caused by cell phone usage.
Wow.
And it's illegal, but obviously I don't know that I've ever heard of someone being pulled over for it, other than on YouTube videos in other states, maybe California or New York. But
is it an out?
No one's just pulled. I've never heard of anyone pulled over for it.
Yeah, is it an out if someone's like, "Oh, I was looking at my GPS"? Like, so if they get pulled over, is that like a is that maybe one of the reasons why we don't see that?
I'd have to pull up the law. I don't. I think if it's in your hand, that's the rub.
Okay.
If you have, because obviously all these Uber drivers and they got it right there on their. I think if you have it in a holder, you're fine, and you're talking Bluetooth, perhaps that's fine. But I think that the rub is if you got it in your hand, so to speak.
Yeah, we definitely pull it up. Yeah, I'm curious why we don't see more of it, because I definitely see them literally everywhere. Like it's an image or something.
And so that's one of the first things, as far as when liability is concerned at the scene, some people, when they're in accidents, our clients, and I probably would be angry and heated. And so you got to try to overcome those emotions, tell the guy, look, I'll deal with you in a second, calm yourself down before getting to the business of, kind of documenting the case, if you will. Obviously you can call the cops, sit there and not deal with it at all. But I always recommend, look, if you can overcome emotions and you're dealing with someone who's reasonable, have the conversation, well, hey buddy, I've been sitting here for 2 minutes. What were you doing? How could this possibly happen? And people might lie, make up, oh, I didn't see you. But in the heat of the moment with adrenaline rushing, they very well may tell you what they were doing. Oh, I was eating a burrito. I was on my cell phone. I was taking the kids in the back seat. All those little things are evidence for determining liability. Because one of the things that happens is people at the scene, you're face to face. The person, like the thief caught red-handed,
right.
They're generally, other than straight scam artists, they're generally more open at that time to divulging what really happened and what they were doing. Then once they leave that scene, you're basically out of their life forever, and they're just talking to their insurance company or to me in a deposition at some future point. But for all intents and purposes, since they caused the accident, it's done and over with, even if you as a victim are dealing with it for years or the rest of your life. So you really want to try to get information as to liability, because once they leave the scene, so not always, but oftentimes what should be a nice, normal situation, I'm at fault. My insurance company is taking care of it. That's what I pay for insurance for. Becomes, oh no, Mr. Reed last minute pulled in front of me and slammed on the brakes. That's why I rented him. And if the insurance company believes that, now they're denying liability. They're not fixing your car, putting you into a rental, or denying the claim. And you're, if you don't have the requisite coverages, collision, being one of them on your part, you could be very well screwed. When you thought it was going to be a smooth process.
So that brings me to an interesting question, because like I'm not a personal injury attorney. You are. We obviously have different perspectives on this, not because we believe different things or outcomes, but I don't see this on the daily, and you do. So when you look at a car accident, you're like, oh, that person should do this and this and this and this and this. Clearly, that seems obvious to me. And I look at it and I'm like, wow, I never would have thought of that if you didn't tell me that, because it's been how long? Some people go a long time without being in a car accident. You know, it's like buying a house. Like, you may not buy another one for like 10 years. So, you don't know necessarily what to expect around every corner, whereas you do. So what are some of those things that to you, you probably take them for granted because they're like, yeah, you got to get this, this, and this, or you're, going to get in trouble later because the insurance will change their story, or the person may change their story and then you're screwed. What are some of those tips?
Yeah, ultimately, one of the main ones really is to, before even photographs, is to look around. Obviously, your adrenaline could be rushing. You could be angry. You have a wife or children or friends in the car, and they could be hurt, and you could get very flustered. But try to always remember to look around first and foremost. Maybe pop out of the car if it's safe to do so, and see. Do you see eyeballs in other vehicles or people at the bus stop or on the sidewalk?
Can you see
are they looking? Because you want to try to get witness information. Hopefully you don't ever need it, but if you don't have it and you do need it, oftentimes a independent witness who can just say, yep, I saw it, John Smith blew the red light and caused this accident 100%. That's gold. And because, for instance, in red light and stop signs, if it's a he said, she said, I had the green light. Oh, I had the green light. That's, that's 50-50. You got to do better than that. You got to have either, dash cam footage, a camera from a store that caught the lights and you, or again, just a person, Susie Q that says, I saw it. Here's what happened, and that tends to be the best source of evidence to overcome that he said, she said scenario. So you don't want to be a burden. No one wants to be a burden, but just go up to this person and say, hey, did you see that? I know it seems so like this is going to be easy, but would you mind if I got your name and number in the event that the insurance company tries to put this on me? And oftentimes people will be like, yeah, I'll give you a business card or this, that, and the other. Because again, all that a witness would ever be asked is what they saw.
Yeah.
And that leads to another point too. Be that witness. I know you've stopped before. I've stopped at accident scenes. Even till I conflicted myself out of a potential case. Because I wanted to do the right thing. It was 275 stop and go traffic. I saw the accident in the lane next to me. I was on the way to a baseball game, but I pulled over. I said, look, I'm not staying here for 2 hours for you, but here's my business card. Not soliciting your services. In fact, I can't take a case if you are injured, but I just want you to have a witness, in the event that you need one. Yeah. I've done it in an Uber, actually. This was a crazy one. I was in an Uber on the way to American Social to meet some buddies, and we were on the bridge, what's that bridge called? Well, going over to Harbor Island, we'll say, just minding our own business. And this girl with like 4 or 5 people behind us, they didn't want to wait any longer. They hopped the curb and skidded by my Uber driver's car, scraped it all down the side. We pulled over, and then the 4 people in the car are basically going all in as if somehow this is the Uber driver's fault. And I'm like, look, buddy, I'm not to drop. I do this for a living. I'm a personal injury attorney. I was in the car. Here's my card. I'll tell the insurance companies and lawyers and whatever exactly what happened. Sure enough, 4 or 5 months later, I got the calls. I told him what happened and helped this guy out. You want to be a witness. Everyone's busy. Everyone's busy. But no one's too busy to pull over and say, here's my card, or, hey, I'm Ryan Reed. Here's my number. If you need a witness, call me. I saw everything, but I can't stay and talk. But, I'm here in the future. And I don't know why more people don't do that, because a lot of our clients, victims, injured, or their cars, poor, people that don't have collision coverage, and they end up with a totaled car and they're just out of car. Yeah. So be that witness, please.
I think that's a good point. Like a lot of times we see it on YouTube, we see it on social media, all over the place, people acting a fool, just like that person who ran the curb, or people who cut you off or weave in and out of traffic. And it can really make you feel bad about society in general. But sometimes you get those people like you're talking about, that witness, you look up and saw eyeballs and connected, and they help you, or they stick around after the crash. I know that this woman just came flying over the train tracks over here and nailed this young delivery boy driver, just nailed him, got out of the car drunk, off her feet, couldn't walk. And so I just stuck around. And sometimes that's enough to restore your faith in humanity. When people are there by your side, or they do the right thing and admit fault in an accident and those types of things, it's really a breath of fresh air. So I appreciate what you had to say.
Yeah, and because even if you call the police, I got good friends that are police, Mike Tedford, BJ Atkins, CJ out there. Even if you call the police, sometimes people are having off days, sometimes things are going on. They're human too. They have personal lives, and they might, not be in the best of moods. And we've had scenarios where our clients are clearly not at fault, and yet they're getting a ticket, or the police are somehow, for some reason, pissed off and writing the report negatively for our client. And it's like, it happens. And so again, in order to avoid any sort of negative ramifications that can happen, those independent witnesses are your best bet. Also, photographs of everything, photographs of their vehicle and your vehicle, because with accident reconstruction and adjusters that do this day in and day out, we can pretty much look at vehicles and figure out what really happened versus what someone might be saying happened.
Yeah, of course. Like I think my wife
but oftentimes our clients only take, either the license plate right up close or their vehicle. You really want to document the at-fault vehicle's structural damage as well. Generally speaking, it's worse than yours. If your bumper is just a scrap on it and there's a totaled and we don't have that, it's very helpful to show the forces involved. But more often, it's helpful to determine if someone's trying to lie about what really happened. You say, well, the damage is into the front center. How does your story make sense that my client cut over in front of you? It's like front and center.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's helpful too.
Well, that's what happened to my wife when we were in college years ago. We got like T-boned on the side to this kid who ran a red light, and the the damage, the report that the officer wrote up, the damage was written on her right side, but she was making a right-hand turn. And all the damage was on the left-hand side because that's where he hit her. And so it was one of those things where having the photos really, really helps, because the way that it was written up and the way that they were discussing the aftermath of it and everything completely conflicted with the pictures that got turned in. It was like, oh, okay, well, we got to sort these things out. So really helpful. Really helpful.
Yep.
Well, this is good. Yes, last week Paul talked a little bit about, how to maybe get somebody to admit fault after an accident and some tips on that. And you kind of followed up this week with these looking around for eyeballs to get those witnesses. So I think these two videos go really well together. If you're watching this, and you find that it's helpful, or somebody who's recently been in a car accident or something and they need to see something like this, share it. Share it with those young people who are just starting to drive so that they know. Because there's some crazy drivers out there, and not always their fault. The young people, And
so also, one of the best things you can do, I've been doing this 9 years, still haven't done it, but my grandmother finally just pulled the trigger and got me a dash cam.
Is that Barbara?
So I've had it under my desk for a month, so even with it in my hand, I'm still lazy enough not to put it in, but that solves all your problems. It really does. So that's going to get installed here next week, because it's only a matter of time before someone reverses into me or blows a red light, and that's the make or break. So do that too. Right? But thank you, grandmother, for the dash cam. I'll get it installed.
Shout out to grandma. All right, well, without that, or with that, I guess, and without anything further, we can call it a day. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you all next week. And remember, with Read and Read, Ryan?
It's like having a lawyer in the family.
There you go.
All right.